Hi guys, I'm Hemel, and in this video I'm going to go through the 5 different ways to get rid of your chronic pain, whether that's tight muscles, lots of tension in your body, dull, sharp aches, pains all over, wherever it is in your body. I've experienced it along my spine, from my head, my neck and my back, spreading towards the rest of my body. So the tips I'm going to share in this video are actually based on my experience. So let's start with the first one. Now, the number one thing that's made the biggest difference of all is the way I respond to my symptoms, the way I respond to that pain. Whenever that pain comes on, I used to get really frustrated, angry, I was fearful, I'd get upset, and sometimes I wouldn't verbalize it, but mentally I'd be going through all those negative thoughts and feelings. But now, because I've learned through Neuroplasticity, the Mind-Body Syndrome by John Sarno, now that I understand how the brain can create pain, which I know sounds really far-fetched, but once you apply it and you feel the difference and the changes, you start to believe it. So what I do is, every time the pain comes on, I decide not to freak out about it like I've done for many, many years, almost not giving a crap about it, which is the hardest thing. I know it sounds like the hardest thing to possibly do, but believe me, the more you can get closer to neutral, the quicker your brain will start reprogramming itself to learn that there is no danger, there's no fear, there's nothing to be afraid of, because our brains are misinterpreting the things we're doing and the pain we're experiencing, and we need to teach the brain that there is no danger and we are safe. So instead, I acknowledge that I'm in pain. I realize it's a psychological element, not a physical one, because structurally I'm fine, and I stay as neutral and calm as possible. Why not try it for just 1 week and see what kind of difference it makes? Because I've always found my negative emotions and my thoughts always exacerbate my pain. And now that I've adopted this new approach where I stay as neutral as possible, it's reduced somewhat, and over time it will go away completely. Now, this next tip is a little bit controversial. It's all about having that mindset where you want to fix your pain, where you want to fix your problems. Whereas in this scenario, it's actually counterintuitive. And so by that, I mean, whenever we've got back pain, we go to a chiropractor, a physiotherapist, a osteopath, or we get different types of treatments done like dry needling or acupuncture. We may change our diet, whatever the case may be. Those types of treatments, although can provide short-term relief, most people find that their chronic pain continues long after it, and they find they become dependent on it. And that's because those treatments are of the mindset that you're trying to fix the pain using an external solution. But from my experience, the fix actually comes from an internal factor, a psychological factor. The more we try and fix our pain using external solutions, we are sending messages to our brain that we're in fear mode, we're desperate to get rid of this pain, or we're trying to just manage the pain and we know that we're going to live with it for the rest of our lives. Either way, we're sending messages to our brain that we're in danger and we need that help. And the focus is all on the actual pain and the symptoms itself. And it sends a message to yourself that you're broken, you're damaged, there's something wrong with you that needs fixing, which is far from the case. Your body is completely structurally fine. Your muscles, your tendons, your bones, your ligaments. Your brain is simply confused. It's just sending the signals from your body part where you experience the pain to your brain, and your brain is looking at it through a lens of danger rather than safety. And so as a result, it's sending you pain and symptoms to prevent you from being in more danger than you already are. It's almost like being in a highly stressed state. You've heard the term fight or flight response. If you're in a constant state of stress, then you're sending signals to your brain that you're in danger. So instead of trying to fix your pain with external solutions, start looking internally and psychologically to see, how can I change my response? How can I let go of those treatments? Because if I let go, then I'm afraid. But the idea is to let go of it because you don't need it, because physically you're actually fine. Even though you don't feel it, structurally you're completely fine. And the harder we try and fix our problem with external solutions, the more fear we're sending to our brain. So start considering, as scary as it might be, to start letting go of these treatments and start working on the mind instead. So after doing some research, this tip of having a healthy mindset really resonated with me. And when you've been ill for so long and when you've been in chronic pain, you almost forget what it feels like to be healthy. You forget what your mindset is like, what your emotions are like, and physically what you do if you were healthy. Your focus is all about the pain and the illness. And what I found is you have to take that focus and attention away from the pain and onto things that you would do if you were already healthy. You can even refer back to when you were healthy before the chronic pain started, or just look around at everyone else who is healthy and what they're doing. Try to remind yourself of what it feels like to be healthy. Try to remind yourself what you'd be physically doing if you were healthy, whether that's engaging in like physical activities and learning not to be fearful of them, because that fear is what's keeping you in this fear loop to keep you stuck in your pain. So the more you start embracing this healthy mindset, the more your brain will get the messages that there's nothing to be worried about, there's nothing to fear, there's nothing to stress about, and that everything is fine. Reducing your pain is almost like a dial. It's not a switch. The pain gradually dials down rather than just switches off. And that can take some time. It's understandable that a lot of people are going to worry when they're in pain and they've had it for such a long time, like I have. The initial reaction is of stress, worry, and fear, and even anger as well. But it's really important to know that you're almost programmed to worry if you've been worrying for so long, every single day for years. So the key is to reprogram that way of thinking and start swiping away those worries, those concerns, those fears that you're having, those thoughts that are coming up in your mind. And instead, just start putting your attention onto things that you do like or you want to do, and the things that you're grateful for that you already have around you. For example, I used to worry about whether this pain was going to last forever, whether I was going to see my family and friends again, whether I was going to be able to do any kind of physical activity or get a job. I realized I was thinking that way every single day for years, and my brain was programmed to think like that and to worry and stress about things, when I knew there's a way of changing it with this term called neuroplasticity. And it basically means reprogramming your brain so you change your response. So instead of worrying and stressing about things, I start by relaxing my body, take a few breaths, and then I tell myself everything's going to be okay whether this thing happens or not. I don't need to worry about it, I don't need to stress about it. And you can refer back to the millions of examples in your past where everything has turned out okay, but our brains are almost wired to look at all the things, all the problems that we've had and where it's always gone wrong. That's probably only 5% of the time. What about the other 95% where things have actually been completely fine and it's diffused and it never became an issue in the end, and you realize that you were worrying for no reason whatsoever? So why waste that energy and put it towards negative stuff when you can put it towards a positive feeling, things that are working well for you? If that's too hard, like I said in the previous tip, just aim for being neutral. Like, you don't have to be positive about everything. Just aim to be neutral, and that's enough. And I think it's important to highlight that these negative thoughts and emotions, they're only instilling more fear. So it's not going to put your body in the best state to heal. So make that choice and just get rid of them. Don't believe it, don't buy into it, and just focus on the good that's happening, the progress that you're making. Now, I bet when I started this video, a lot of you probably thought I was going to talk about deep breathing, meditations, visualizations, affirmations. But from my experience, they're actually secondary to recovering from pain. The primary tool you need to adopt is the ones I've mentioned in this video, and to change the psychological element of everything. That's what's going to make the real difference, the biggest shifts. But don't get me wrong, all those tools can be very helpful, and I've used them several times in the past, but I don't use them religiously every single day, every moment that my pain gets worse. It's more about reprogramming the brain to understand that you're actually not in danger and you're completely safe. There's nothing to worry about, there's nothing to stress about, especially when the pain comes on. These tools can help you shift your belief, but the belief is something that you experience. The belief is something that you develop over time as you see changes come. And the psychological element is where it all starts. So if these tools uplift you and make you feel good and you're not highly dependent on them, then please go ahead and use them. I think they're great tools, and like I said, I've used it many times in the past. But try not to obsess about them. Try not to use them as a way of fixing your pain. They're there as a secondary tool after the psychological element is addressed. The idea is to instill trust and safety to your brain. Convince your brain that you are safe and you're not in any kind of danger, because right now it's sending out false alarms via symptoms as pain and all sorts of symptoms really, when it doesn't actually need to. Please let me know in the comments if you found any of these tips useful, if you're already implementing them and you've found a difference with your pain. I'd love to know. I'll be sharing more tips like these as part of the series on my channel, so feel free to subscribe if you want to learn more, and I'll see you in the next video.